A lot of people think that cannonballing is all about breaking the law, but it doesn't have to be that way. Last year, 4 officers from California drove cross-country in what's called the Cannonball Memorial Run in an effort to raise money for the families of fallen police officers. Next week, on Thursday, September 28th, they're going again, and this time they've invited me to come along to document their journey as they drive cross-country, stopping at departments along the way that have lost officers in the last 12 months. Now, raising awareness is one thing, but making a real commitment is another. Now, although there are state and federal programs that will help out the families of law enforcement officers fallen in the light of duty, they never send the money fast enough. The goal of the Cannonball Memorial Run Fund is to donate $10,000 within 24 hours to the families of the fallen. The Cannonball Memorial Run exists because of 2 officers from California, Sergeant Jason Hendricks and John Bannis. These guys contacted me on Facebook last summer when they were already on the first one. Their question was insane. They asked me if I was cool as the Cannonball record holder with them using the name. My answer was that I don't hold the Cannonball record and no one owns the Cannonball. Anyone who gets in a car and drives cross-country can be a cannonballer. Doing a cross-country drive at any speed is part of the American mythology. When people ask me why my rally team would dress like police officers from around the world, the answer is simple. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a police officer. When I grew up and did the Cannonball, dressing like a cop made perfect sense. But after doing the Cannonball, I became friends with hundreds of police officers, and I realized, although we have a lot in common, they were willing to make a commitment I was never willing to make myself. When I leave for work in the morning, my biggest concern is that this will break down or I'll lose my wallet. When a law enforcement officer leaves for work every morning, their wives and husbands and kids have no idea if they're going to come home. Which is why everyone who thinks they will ever have to call 911 ever in their lives should support the families on the other end of that phone call. So this summer, when I finally sat down and met Hendricks and Bannis in person, they asked me to go along. And I said absolutely, no questions asked. I had one question. What was the route? How many stops? 3,800 miles, 13 stops from Santa Monica to Washington, D.C. And because it's the southern route, I made one suggestion. They had to talk to Ed Bolian, who currently holds the Cannonball record and lives in Atlanta. Next thing you know, we're all going together. It makes perfect sense that 2 of the fastest cannonball drivers of all time would support this, because the kind of preparation required to get into a car and drive at speed safely cross-country teaches you a lot about the kind of focus and stress required of police officers every time they get in a car. When people ask, what is the hardest part of cannonballing, I always say the same thing: maintaining your safety and situational awareness. It is extremely difficult to do those things in the chaos of noise, electronics, and weather. The difference is, if anything goes wrong, I can stop, I can turn around, I can go home. Police officers don't have that choice. Every time there's a fire, or a tornado, or a hurricane like Harvey, police officers are out there fighting to save the lives of families exactly like the people they've left behind at home. All that pressure is why 35 officers have already been killed this year in single-car accidents. But the truth is, there are no accidents. Every time you get in a car, there is the possibility of something going wrong. But all the stress and pressure of being an officer, that risk goes up. Which is why everyone should do everything they can to support the Cannonball Memorial Run. Follow the Cannonball Memorial Run on Twitter and on Facebook. You can follow me on thedrive.com, on Facebook and Twitter, where I'll be broadcasting live our journey from Santa Monica to Washington, D.C., and donate to what's a terrific, terrific cause.